Yeah, just to keep us from getting rained upon for a little bit longer, we're going to have some theory about the equipment in here before we go out. And just to sort of show you what you need when you're using the scythe, what you need to operate it. Yesterday we sharpened our blades, and some of you weren't here, but we can do a quick repetition perhaps either today or later in the week. But assuming your blade is sharp, what you need is the blade, of course, and something to put it on so you can hold it. And you also need a whetstone. So I'm going to show you these different components, but I thought I'd start with these. In English, we call them snaths. So it's a snath, S-N-A-T-H. And there are different models. There are different models within a country and in different countries. The handles look different, and the curvatures and the lengths, and it's just all types. And as long as you get a good quality and you don't wear out your body, it's fine to use whatever you like. In Scandinavia and Western Europe, most snaths have two handles, so one upper and one lower handle. In Eastern Europe and Southern Europe, Southeastern Europe, they usually only have one handle, and then you hold this bit like this. Works, whatever works. Yeah. They're very. If you want to make your own snath, a straight stick with one handle, like a traditional sort of Russian style snath, is the easiest if you want to start making your own. These are a bit more complex. They have a curve. Usually these days been steam bent. Or you can make something called a wildwood snath when you go out and look for a natural shape that suits you. Same with the handles. You can find something that's bent that way, the way that you like. Or you just don't think about the grain and you just make it the shape you want anyway. Snaths back in the day seem to have been a little bit shorter than how we prefer them today. But yeah, this is usually the length that we find in old barns. So, and that makes it hard for us to use really old snaths for authenticity. It might be fun, but they're unless you're very short, it's not comfortable. So what we're using these days are these adjustable ones that also come in different lengths to start with. So this is a long one. I'll just get this one and I'll come back to my position. This is the same model. It's just a shorter version of it. And you see they have holes so you can adjust the handle position as well. So a fairly tall person and a shorter person can use the same snath. So that's good in a workplace. You don't need to have an individually, because those had fixed handles like the one Joakim is holding. They're made for the person who's going to use it. And these are a bit more universal. So that's very convenient. We recommend that even if you have all this old equipment, consider getting a new snath. Either you make your own or you buy one. So this is might be something that the Norwegians might also recognize, but especially the Swedes. This is the most common thing that you can find in a barn. This is a snath that was produced in copious amounts in the 1900s. It's not very good. It's quite heavy, and of course the handles are fixed. It's quite short, and I like to say it's most suitable to an orangutan, because when you're setting the snath to your body, the distance you want between the handles is about. I should be able to touch the other handle if I rest my elbow here. So I can't touch it. That means it's for quite a tall person with very long arms. But the general height, what you say as a general rule when you start to set a snath you want this somewhere at least between your shoulder and your chin. Somewhere here is a good setting. This. Back in the day, the old recommendation was your armpit. It's not even at my armpit. And still this position is too long for me. So, not a human. It's not for a human, you know. And this is what everybody's using. And it's terrible. I don't like it. So I just always tell people, just throw this away. Or you can use it maybe for if you want to whack away at shrubs or something, I don't know. But sometimes the blade can be good. So leave the blade, just leave this melt it down. I don't know. I don't like it. And these have been quite common, at least in Sweden, and Finland as well, I know. What they have in common is that the handles are pointing away from you. They point that way, away from my body. And that's quite common in Sweden. And they have a version of this in Norway as well. It's quite common to have this type of handle position, pointing away. And then you've got another version that's also quite common in Scandinavia, where you have a little wing here sticking out. That means you don't hold it this way. You have your arm is underneath here, and it gives you a little bit of a support. But the handles are still pointing that away from your body. This is common in northern Sweden, it's in Norway, and some parts of regional parts of southern Sweden as well. And these wings, they can look a little bit different, but it's just the general style. You come underneath to hold it. We like to say it's an overarm Scythe, but there are different words, local words for it. So these are like the Scandinavian type of Scythe. And another type that we've started using a lot, I would say these types, the Scandinavian or northern types, they are also what you've used historically in the UK and in North America. The handle positions are the same. But we've, both in the UK and in Scandinavia, we've started using these Scythes as well now. And you see the handles are pointing towards me, so the handle position is different. This one has a raised handle, a raised lower handle. You can find this on a Scandinavian Scythe too sometimes, but with the handle pointing the other direction. So this is not the specifically sort of for another country, but it's quite comfortable because it means you can be a bit more relaxed in your shoulders. You're not as. Yeah, and this Scythe is made in Austria. And it's quite representative of the types of models that are more common in around the Alpine countries. The blade I mean, we talked about blades yesterday, so I'm not going to get into so much today with the different types, but I showed you yesterday the Nordic or the Scandinavian and English and American type of blades that we call the grinding blades that are forged to be harder. We'll be looking at them a little bit later today as well. But what we'll be using right now today is the Austrian type, the peening blades that are a little bit softer in the metal, that you sharpen by hammering on the edge with a hammer on an anvil. And you might think, okay, well that's what we're using and that's what we have. But there's you can also make choices about different models. It's the same with the Scythes. There have always been regional differences. The big factories, and that goes for both for Scandinavia and Austria, is you had these regional different models. So the big factories might have had patents for like 200 different models in their glory days, especially when they bought the other smaller factories and they got their patents. And it's the same for Austria as it is for Sweden. The big factories had a lot of patents. But now they've boiled it down to a few models, and if you make a big order, you can maybe get a custom version. But this is a good general blade. It's I think it's the most sold Scythe blade in the world, probably, at least of the quality blades, for the Austrian quality blades. And you recognize it from it being green. It's convenient. There's a gold painted version that is the same model and it's just a little bit more hardened. And when you're using a scythe in difficult terrain, you're mowing something like bramble or raspberry or bilberry or something like that, it might be good to have a stronger model. But it's also much tougher to peen it because you need to strike harder to get anything to happen. But it's the same model. What can separate the different models is curvature, both the curvature of just the whole blade, but also how much they curve in this way and also this way. And if the blade is a little bit rounded and it is rounded here in the ends a little bit, that means they sort of, if you put them on the ground, they will rock a little bit like this. And that makes them good to follow uneven ground without sticking. But it makes them less suitable for mowing lawn. So if you're actually going to have a little bit of lawn that you want to scythe to show people that it can be done and it's historically, how it was done, then you should consider using a blade that has a more flat profile in the bottom.
Right.
Like that one, for example. This blade is a model that is a little bit flatter.
And we can hold
the difference is not extreme. I tried a little before, and the thing is these are quite handmade, so they're not always that different, but you can see it towards the tip. It is more flat, but
it's flatter both in this direction.
Yes.
So when you put it on the ground, it doesn't
rock so much.
It doesn't rock. It sticks to the ground.
Yeah.
And so it's flat in this direction, and it's also more flat in this direction.
Yeah.
The tip is pointing a little bit upwards.
Yeah, they always have to point a little up because they're harder to use if you don't. But it has a more flat profile. So that one you can use that for meadow as well. I do, but it's also more suitable for a lawn. And if you're mowing uneven, bumpy ground, I would recommend something like this.
Yes.
We'll be using this type of model today, mostly. And then there's also a difference in length. There are different lengths. There's a longer one outside, but I thought it might be dangerous to bring it. Oh, here's one that's a little bit longer. This is an 85, I think.
Yeah.
Usually says on the There's a number here in centimeters usually. So the same model comes in different lengths. When you're doing general purpose mowing, sometimes meadows and a little bit around the poles or trees or something, and or just a flat meadow, the best universal length to go for is the 65 centimeter. And it's the same with old blades. They were old meadow blades, so usually 65, somewhere around there. And the final thing that you need when you're working is a whetstone. I didn't bring the old one right now. I have it in the car. I can show it later when we're out. Traditionally, you used maybe wooden sticks with a little sandstone bit on the. It looks like a file kind of that you used to hone the edge. And now a lot of us are using these types of stones. Often canoe shaped. And you put them in a little cup that holds water. Traditionally, maybe these were not quite common in Scandinavia. They're also a little bit more continental European. And they were often very beautifully carved wooden cups. Yeah. So if you look at in old sort of countryside museums in Austria and Switzerland and Germany, you can find lovely, really wonderfully carved and painted whetstone cups in wood. Yeah, this one's ugly, but you find it when you've left it in the meadow. Yeah, there are metal ones, and you can also have a cow horn ones. Yeah. The reason why you want it to be wet is because when you use a whetstone, when it's dry, the metal residue that you grind off of the blade sticks in the pores of the stone, and it slowly reduces the effect of the stone. But if you keep the stone saturated with water, the metal will sort of come out into the water instead and not get stuck in the stone. So it keeps the stone in good condition. It also makes the grinding a little bit kinder. Dry grinding is more rough. It eats away more metal. So you usually have this, here, because you need to hone a lot, regardless of which type of blade. If it's a Nordic blade or an Austrian blade, we're talking minutes between honings, up to 5 minutes maybe maximum with this. This depends on what you're mowing, of course. Some material is easier and some is tougher and makes the edge wear faster. On a grinding blade, you might be able to prolong that to 10 or 15 minutes if you're lucky. But yeah, some people say every 3 minutes even. So you can count on getting experience with the whetstone today, yeah?